Right, I'm checking to check it out. So, let me give my quick prediction for Chisora versus Wilder fight. I want Wilder. I want Deontay Wilder to win. I've been following him since 2015. Big supporter of Wilder and everything he's been through and where he's come from. Yeah, you gotta rate it. Anyway, there's definitely a few ways this fight could go. Definitely a few ways. I don't think it's a straightforward kind of prediction, to be honest. And basically, right, if everything what Wilder's saying now is correct, you know, that he's back to his own self, you know, everything, you know, injury free, all that good stuff, yeah, then I'm gonna lean toward, I'm gonna say Wilder's gonna win. He should win if what he's saying is correct. Okay. Now, obviously, he lost his last few fights before, all right, of which I didn't expect him to lose, but you can understand why he lost, because obviously he was going through a lot of shit outside of the ring, which can mess anybody up in the mind, you know. Plus, you know, also he done the ayahuasca, didn't he? And we all know what that does to a lot of people. You know, he usually mellows a lot of people out. He mellows a lot of people out. It lets, you know, it helps you find inner peace, all that good stuff, you know. Of which I don't think it's a good idea as a boxer to be doing that, you know. And I feel that the ayahuasca took the fire away from Wilder, but it's hard to say in a way because he was able to knock out what's his name? Quite his name. He's able to knock out that tall white guy. Quite his name a few years ago in the first round, and that was, you know, he's already been and done it with ayahuasca already, and he was able to do it in the first round. But you know, so it's like it's hard to say whether the ayahuasca took the fire away from him or not, because obviously he's done that, and obviously he had a lot of had a lot of dramas with his ex-wife. There's a lot of things going on, so it's hard to say that it was that. You know, it could have been a combination of all of that. You know what I mean? But I'm really hoping that the ayahuasca has not took the fire away from Wilder. I really do hope that's not the case, because if that is the case, then although he's saying all this good stuff now in interviews, and, you know, and it does sound convincing, it does sound truth. But if that is the case, then you'll never able to get that fire back. You'll never be that old Wilder from before. You'll never be that. And that's what separated him from the pack. You know what I mean? He was a man on a mission, bro. Like, you could see it in his face and his eyes, bro. You know what I mean? But I know he's been through a lot now, so there's a lot of different factors to take in. But you know, but as a Wilder fan, you know, I can be honest and say that, you know. But at the same, you know, but I like to give him the benefit of the doubt again, to say that, you know, all the stuff that he's been going through now, and give him the benefit of the doubt. If he's saying what he's saying is correct, and that basically the old Wilder's back now, then I've got no doubt in my mind that he's going to win. But if that isn't the case, then I can't see him winning, to be honest. And I feel, yeah. So how do I think this fight's going to go? I feel it can either go real early in the first like 1 to 4 rounds, Wilder will catch him, or it might go to the second half of the fight and eventually Wilder will catch him, or David Chisora will be able to grind Wilder down and he might get a late stoppage, or he could go points, but I'll probably say late stoppage, because Chisora will just keep grinding you down, you know what I mean? And he throws those big loopy shots. But at the same time, I feel like if Chisora comes out fast out the gates and catches Wilder cold, again, if Wilder isn't the same guy he was before, and Chisora comes out the gates like a madman, he could catch Wilder early. He might take him out in the first 1 to 3 or 4 rounds. So there's so many different ways this fight could go because there's so many different factors involved. Chisora's coming towards the end of his career. He's not the same fighter no more. He hasn't got the same kind of speed no more. But he's still a workhorse. Chisora is a fucking workhorse. You know what I mean? And Wilder, there's a lot of question marks around Wilder. A lot of question marks, and hopefully he can answer them. This is the fight where he'll answer it. We can give him the benefit of the doubt for those other two, those losses what he had before, because of all the stuff what was going on. But again, if what Wilder said is true, all his interviews leading up to this fight, and if he's saying what is true, then he should be able to pull the trigger and get it done. Because Wilder's still very agile. He's still agile, still very nimble. He's still got great speed. Yeah? I wouldn't say he's as fast as he was before. Of course not, because speed will always slow down. You'll always slow down as you get older. Doesn't matter who you are, alright? But I do feel like, even if you get like 70% of Wilder, I think that could be enough to take out this version of Chisora. But yeah, so swings and roundabouts. There's so many different ways it can go. You know what I mean? So I wonder what people are betting, because there'll be so much different kind of bets we'll be putting on. I don't really think anybody can be certain on any one thing, to be honest. I don't think anybody can be certain, because there's too many caveats to this fight. There's too many little things, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna go with a Wilder win. I'll say a knockout. Not too sure when, but a knockout, maybe a TKO. And I'm basing that on giving Wilder the benefit of the doubt and trust and believe in what he's saying now. And that basically the old Wilder's back is on it. And that's what I'm basing my prediction on. But if I'm gonna be what's the word? If I'm gonna be skeptical about it, then if I'm going to be skeptical about it, then I'm not too sure if I could pick Wilder if I'm going to be skeptical about it. But if I'm not going to be skeptical about it, and I'm going to trust and believe what Wilder said, then Wilder should get it done. But time will tell. Hopefully the old Wilder's back, or at least 70% of him, or 75% of him, at least. Hopefully, majority of him is back. You know what I mean? So we'll see. And with that, I'm out.